I'm Danielle Michaud outside the Air Canada Centre and near Johnny Bower's Legends Row status. Today, inside his family, the Toronto Maple Leafs and fans paid tribute to him in a ceremony of life celebration. Now, while his 4 Stanley Cups and his reputation for being one of the toughest goalies ever will always be a part of his legacy, it's his impact off the ice that's left the greatest impression.
We thought that we understood the impact of Grandpa, or JB as we like to call him, that he had on so many people. But that has changed over the past week with the outpouring of love and support from Maple Leafs and hockey fans from around the world. We have been overwhelmed by your emails, your tweets, phone calls, and letters. Thank you.
Growing up, we all knew of the legend and the name Johnny Bower. 3.5 years ago, when I joined his team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, I was lucky enough to get to know the man. Joe had spoken earlier about having heroes. It really is incredible when the legends or the heroes that you see from afar and then you get to meet up close actually surpass the level that you already had them placed on. And Johnny was that kind of a man.
He was 33 before he became our regular goaltender, and then he played for us for over 10 years. Our team in the 60s sought glory. We had guts, we had determination, we played for each other, and we won 4 Stanley Cups. John was a huge reason for all of those victories, as he actually became the face of the Maple Leafs.
Johnny Bower was loved. He will be dearly missed, and he'll never be forgotten.
As you can see, the memorial continues to grow with people leaving notes, flowers, messages, as well as some pictures of them meeting the great Johnny Bower. And coming up, we'll hear from another fan favorite of the Maple Leafs, Doug Gilmour, who talks about just why it's such a lasting impact on the Maple Leafs fan base. I'm Danielle Michaud outside the Air Canada Centre, where today inside they held a celebration of life for the great Johnny Bower. And it was only a few weeks ago, maybe 4 or 5, that Johnny Bower made a visit at Sunnybrook Hospital with some of the veterans that were there. And there were other Maple Leafs on hand, including Darcy Tucker and Nazem Kadri. But when they were announced on stage, who do you think got the biggest ovation? Of course, number 1, Johnny. And Darcy Tucker joked that at this point, he's used to being upstaged by Mr. Bower, who has always been a fan favorite. And another fan favorite, Doug Gilmour, reflected on just how popular he was with Leafs Nation.
What are we here, 7 million people in this area? I bet you Johnny knows 4 million of them. It's just everybody's coming back and telling stories how he's met him, and that's who Johnny was. He was just he would go, whether it was at a mall, wherever it was, he's there to say hi to everybody. And I've done shows with him and different things, and he just sits there and smiles.
One of the things that's always touched me, when Johnny's introduced in this building or back in Maple Leaf Gardens, the ovation he got was better than any other player, and deservedly so. And fans loved him, teammates loved him because of who he was as a person, not who he was as a player. And he was one of those guys, if you met him for the first time, he'd look you in the eye, he'd take time, give you a smile, give you a hug or a picture or an autograph, and you would go away feeling touched by Johnny Bower.
You got 100% from him, you know. Even when he couldn't see so good near the end, he knew where to stand. He knew that if the guy was over there in that board, I got to be one step over here, or if he's over, if we're this far, I got to, you know. He just that little half step, even though maybe he couldn't see the puck, but he knew where the guy was shooting from. You see.
Well, he did about 10,000 appearances after he retired, so he spent a lot of time with people, and he never just blew them off. Like he would never sign an autograph without saying hello and what did you have for lunch today, and he would always make it personal. So anybody that he met seemed to be a good friend of his.
Johnny had absolutely no ego, and every time he met anyone, he made sure he left a lasting impression. And while McKenny mentioned that there, he also had a pretty funny story about how sometimes Johnny Bower, his good friend, could be too nice. You can check that out if you head to the City News Twitter or my Twitter @CityMeShow.